let's talk about stepping into Colombian music. I read that you said that the rhythms were familiar to you, but that the instrumentation and orchestration was different. So what exactly does that mean to those of us that aren't songwriters? And how is this a different experience than making music for Moana or In the Heights?
Yeah, I found that immersing myself in Colombian music, it was a lot like going through your cousin's family picture album. Like, oh, I see how we're similar and I see how we're different. That's generally the story of music in Latin America, which, you know, traverses its borders and we share so much. Again, the task is full immersion and full research. And, you know, you would swap out our Puerto Rican cuatro for a Colombian tiple to write songs that are really accordion-centric. That was really exciting to give, you know, our main character, Mirabel, doesn't have a gift or a superpower, but she plays the crap out of an accordion while she sings. And so that was really joyous. To write a song for her it was really inspired by a style of music in Colombia called bambuco that's in 3/4 time. There's not a lot of Disney tunes in 3/4 time, and finding that was really exciting. So it's just sort of these little things here and there, and then Colombian musicians like all the way down the line to really give it that authenticity. But the harder part and the more rewarding part for me is really just finding what these characters want and what they yearn for and how they feel about each other and finding their pulses and rhythms and what that sounds like when they're talking to each other.
And Lin, you've been working on this for 5 years. So as a recovering perfectionist, how do you know when a song is done?
When Disney says we've sent it off to master, it's done. But I could keep fiddling forever. I know I have the best beta testers in the world in my house because I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And if they like it, I'm good and they are not shy about their opinions. I also am married to a woman who doesn't really like musicals that much. So I've got the toughest bar to clear in my house. There's a song in this movie called Dos Oruguitas. It's a heartbreaker of a tune. My very cool cucumber wife was in tears and she went, "That's the best song you've ever written." And I said, "Okay, we're done here." But I can't even talk about that without crying. But that's, you know, if I've made my family happy, then I'm good. They're a really good test audience.
Oh, Lin, that was so beautiful. And I can attest that that song, when I watched it, everybody was just so emotional. And you put so much attention to detail in your music. And I almost feel like that's your superpower and gift. I was talking to Stephanie and she was saying how you explained to her that one of Mirabel's songs was kind of like the waltz, because the waltz feels out of time, kind of like how Mirabel is out of time with her family. And I'm like, man, if people just knew how much Lin puts into this, and she didn't even know that. What would you say, because you mentioned your family and beta testing with them, what is your superpower and gift in your family? And like Mirabel's mom, did you eat a meal growing up that healed you or gave you life?
I think any writer's greatest tool in their toolbox is empathy. I think that's I don't know any other way to write other than to put myself in the character, feel what they're feeling, talk to myself till it feels true, and then write it down. Like that's, and whether it's at a keyboard or at a piano, like that's the job. And it's that simple and it's that complicated. And the joy with my family is they are so used to it. Like they just see daddy talking to himself or crying in the corner and they go, "Oh, daddy's writing. It's fine." And that's been really wonderful because I think they also understand that empathy and seeing how someone else feels is a superpower, and is half the battle when it comes to living in this world. When it comes to home cooking, my mom wasn't much of a cook, but like once a year she would make like 2 big old pots of like her tomato sauce, and it lived in freezers, and we lived off that for the rest of the year. So my mom's tomato sauce is probably the one for us.
You know, I love Siempre Luis and your father. I love the connection that you guys have because I feel that kinship with my dad. What power do you think, you know, your dad gives you?
Well, he was really along for the ride on all of this. Like he came to Colombia with us, and it was it was really nice to have him along on the journey because he had insights that I wouldn't have had having grown up in Puerto Rico, that I wouldn't necessarily have been able to contribute. I remember him telling us the story of his grandmother, my great-grandmother, and how she ran the house. There were 12 kids, and everyone who married into the family gave their paychecks to her, which she reallotted accordingly, according to need, and I think ended up being a big inspiration for the character of Alma and the way Alma runs that Madrigal household. So my dad was really along for the ride for this. I think as selfishly, it was nice for him to see how hard I worked and how tricky it is to write these tunes. You know, he wanted me to be a lawyer, and here we are writing Disney tunes. So it worked out pretty nicely, but it was actually really nice for him to sort of see the process from beginning to end on this.
Wow, that's really cool that he's alongside. I love how you guys work together and you always pull from him. It means so much to me to hear you say that. How do you unlock your inner child, and how do you tap into little Lin and create from that space when you're working for Disney?
Yeah, I don't think little Lin has ever relinquished the keys. I don't think he's ever given me the keys to be an adult. I'm always thinking about what would have blown my mind because I'm here talking to you because I saw Under the Sea when I was 9 years old, and it exploded my brain, and I'm still trying to put the pieces back together. The feeling of weightlessness, seeing that number, is something that has never really gone away. One of the best parts of adulthood is getting to do the things maybe younger you didn't get to do. The pandemic version of that for me was I just started buying sugary cereals. I was like, I wasn't allowed to have Lucky Charms. I'm buying Lucky Charms. I'm buying Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm a grown-up and we're in a pandemic and I'm eating this. And so, I mean, that's a very surface version of satisfying the inner child, but when you're creating, your first audience is you, and that voice is very much present in me particularly when I'm writing for Disney.
Mirabel, delivery! I gave you the special since you're the only Madrigal kid with no gift. I call it the not special since, you have no gift.
Thanks.
John and Stephanie, I left this film wanting to see so much more of your characters together. So
good. That's better than the opposite.
Yeah, that's great.
If and when there is a spinoff, I hope you guys are down.
Oh yeah, no doubt. We're in.
Of course.
As someone that comes from a huge family, it was so beautiful for me to see Disney bring this magical, massive, extended family of the Madrigals to life. And when you come from one, you know that each family member really does bring a specific gift to the table based on the role they play. So I wanted to know, what superpowers or gifts would you possess in your family? And what are some of the ones that they would possess?
I mean, the one I do possess in my family is I'm the peacemaker, because when stuff starts getting, I'm able to sort of go that's a really good point. Why don't we take a walk around the outside of the house and look at some of the street? You know, it's I'm very,
that's so cool.
I'm very much the person that sort of tries to deflect the hubbub or the craziness that starts to go.
Oh my God, I'm the opposite.
Really? You're the instigator?
I'm the one that starts all the trouble in the household. I'm the one that starts everybody at each other, and
yeah.
Because I like tumultuousness. I like conflict. I love that.
That's funny.
You know, we all bring different things to the family.
Everybody brings something different.
And
that's
what the
Naz,
movie
everybody
Encanto.
brings something different.
What's also interesting in this film is that some of the characters get their gifts at the age of 5. And the reason why I found that interesting is because I think at a very young age in real life, sometimes we can get pigeonholed by our families into a certain career or path. You know, by 5, you're a musician or you're an athlete. So I'm curious, what did you both want to be when you grew up? And was that based on a family expectation? Starting with you, John.
I really fought against all family expectations. They wanted me to be in business or something standard. And I said, I'm going to be a comedian actor. And they were like, we didn't come to this country for you to be worse than us. And I was like, what? That's not the expectation I expected from them. So I went against all that, and I said, I'm going to be an actor regardless if I have success or not. I didn't care, and here we are today.
I don't think I really decided what I wanted to be until I was a teenager. And then I saw John on TV for the first time in one of his one-man shows doing a monologue about when he decided to become an actor, which is when he saw a chorus line on Broadway. And hearing him say these words and have these like revelation that he could also do that made me in turn also have the revelation as I was like watching TV in my little bedroom in Houston, Texas, watching this person who had a Broadway show talking about another Broadway show. You know, it was like all these different levels of, oh, I could do that then. I could do that. I could be an actor. I could be an actor. Maybe I could be an actor, you know?
Yeah. And now you're doing it.
And now I'm doing it.
With Mirabel, you're giving little girls a chance to go, look at me, I can do it too. It's beautiful.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's like very, very, the way that things kind of trickle down and the things that hit you and the things that sort of, what's the word? When something like
gives
really,
you permission or?
Yeah, or like really like
gives you the
imprints
baton,
on you.
yeah.
When something imprints on you when you're that young and you're told like the possibilities are there for you, like it's very, very, very exciting because the world opens up to you.
And important, how important this movie is.
Yeah, and how surreal is that now you guys are working together?
It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely bonkers bananas.
nuts.
When I heard that John was in the cast, I was like, what? For real? Like, I lost my mind.
And I ran to see her in the Heights, and she crushed it in the Heights.
Thank you.
That's so funny. I'm Dominican, so Steph, everything you did within the height. And also, what is it about a chorus line? Because that was like also very personal to me too. Maybe it was Maria in a chorus line that was just like, oh, Latinx, we can do this.
Yes,
Yes.
Lopez.
It was like, it was also that like we had so little, so
Yeah.
we were looking for the one, anything, right? And so when you see it, you attach to it immediately because you're not. You know, John's talked a lot about how much. What was the stat that you gave about the census? It was so good.
We're almost 20% of the census, and yet 4% now is better because last year was 3% of the faces in front of the camera. That's not okay.
I've always loved, John, how you've been so outspoken about that. And that's why it means so much that you guys are bringing this story to life, you know?
I think we just brought it up to 6% with the movie, maybe even 7%.
Nice. Yeah, let's get those percentages up. I wanted to ask you guys about Mirabel's mother's gift because I thought it was really beautiful how she heals through food. Was there a meal that you both ate growing up that gave you life or healed you?
You know, my mom is Bolivian, and one of the things that I didn't experience until actually moving to LA, she has some family in LA, and her family is Bolivian in LA, and there's this dish called chuño, which is a potato dish from Bolivia, and like, it's like nothing I've ever had before. And also eating it, I felt immediately sort of like, I know this. I know this dish, which—
In your DNA, yeah, connected.
It's so cool sometimes how food can really make you feel connected to family that's long, long past, trails of your DNA that are gone, and yet you still feel like this feels just right.
Yeah, it's amazing that the mom heals with an arepa con queso, because you know mom's cooking is healing. I mean, when my mom makes a sancocho, forget it. I'm healed. Every problem I've had, anything with Hollywood or a movie doesn't do well, ahí está el sancocho, and boom, I'm okay.
Todo está bien.
That's my meal too. What is it about sancocho? And it takes like a whole day to make, like a whole 2 days.
But that's why, because like somebody that's gonna make something for you that takes a whole day to make.
My mom complains to the whole time.
Of course.
Yo estoy aquí en la
cocina cocinando para ustedes y tú no.
I have to work so hard to make this for you. I hope you appreciate it.
Of course.
It's so true. It's so true. And if I got in a car accident, my mom would give me sancocho before taking me to the hospital.
Before the intravenous, we're going to give you un sancocho con plátano maduro.
I love you guys so much. Stephanie, let's talk about Sancocho because that's reminding me of like In the Heights. This is another film that you're in with Lin-Manuel Miranda's songwriting. What is it about his songwriting that stands out to you?
It's incredible. He as a songwriter is so gifted, so talented, such a genius, and also such a deep, deep researcher. He has such respect for music of all kinds. You know, you can hear it in The Heights, you can hear it again in something like Hamilton, where the respect for Black culture, hip hop culture, rap is so deeply, deeply threaded into that musical. And then with this film, with Encanto, it's this research that he and the other filmmakers did for years and years, really, working on researching Colombia and the sounds of Colombia and making sure the music was just right, inviting actual Colombian musicians to be a part of this film so that it sounds
authentic,
and real. And Lin has such respect for musicians and music, and you can feel it in the songwriting. But also he's like extremely creative in this like really fascinating, interesting way. One of the things that Lin said about one of Mirabel's songs is that the timing, he wanted to time it so that it was sort of like a waltz, because a waltz can feel kind of out of time, and Mirabel's character feels out of step with the rest of her family.
Wow.
And
That's
you
so
would
cool,
I
so
mean, like,
cool.
you'd only know that if you're Lin. I'd already recorded the song. I didn't know any of that stuff when I was singing it, you
But
know?
you were
but
feeling
like,
it, you were
but
feeling
I was
it.
feeling it.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
feel that it did feel slightly out of tune with the rest of her family, right? And like, that's something that Lin-Manuel brings to his writing, is this like really thoughtful,
Character analysis in the music.
he's really
Amazing.
brilliant. He's really brilliant.
Wow, what a beautiful answer. Thank you for that. So yeah, there's so much intention behind it that to the average person, like, you wouldn't know it. And how lucky to be able, you know, to work with people like that. It's been a huge year for you, Stephanie, you know, with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Encanto, In the Heights. You had a baby. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you did for the first time as a performer this year that you can share with us, since the roles have been so varied?
Thing that I did for the first time was become a Disney heroine. And at the same time, I was like, as I was laying down sort of like these songs and, you know, the voice, I was also really cognizant of the fact that I was pregnant and going to have a kid that would possibly see this work someday. You know, I think everything else I've just been like, I'm just gonna do what I wanna do because
I'm gonna be me, do me.
I'm gonna do me, you know, like, but this is like, I am gonna do me, and I'm also like conscious of the responsibility that I think I have, not like the type of story necessarily, because I wanna tell all types of stories, but it's more like the responsibility of like, how do I make this as authentic as I possibly can and make it feel like something that's real, so that somebody else connects to this in a way that feels really real. Yeah.
I'm not super strong like Luisa.
The donkey's got out again.
On it! Or effortlessly perfect like Señorita Perfecta Isabella.
Felicidades on the film, guys. What a cool project to be a part of. All your characters are so funny, but there's so many lessons to be pulled from each of them. You know, like Diane and Jessica, your characters are the brawn and the beauty of the family, yet they share a lot in common. I feel like they have to live up to other people's expectations. So what message do you want people to take from your character when watching Encanto?
Be yourself.
Yes.
You know, just shout out to Robin Williams and one of my favorite movies, Aladdin. Be yourself.
Yes, Aladdin.
Be yourself.
Aladdin.
You know, there's a lot. Yes, Aladdin. There's a lot of talk about this, you know, authenticity and being genuine and organic, yet we're still sort of like following a lot of like what's in this societal construct. You know what I mean? We feel often wrong to step outside of the roles that we've been given or step outside of something that we've been doing for a long time. I love that my character brings that sort of like, you know, seemingly sort of perfect ability to make these beautiful flowers and to sort of keep everything together. But how can we really grow if we don't experiment, if we don't try different things, if we don't get different interests? Like, I mean, we're not going to stay the same person forever just because we have certain abilities while we're young, or if we find something that we're really good at, doesn't mean that we don't contain multitudes and that we should be trying out different things and that we might become just different than who we thought we were. You know, so I love that exploration.
Wow, Walt Whitman, I contain multitudes. I love that. My favorite quote. Jessica, what about your character? Because I related to Luisa a lot.
An important lesson that Luisa learned is to speak up. It's okay to ask for help, because though she can literally physically do everything, there's a lot going on inside of there. And it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to actually not have all the fuel you need to go through your day, and to open up to your family and friends and people that you know who love you and will be there for you regardless, especially because of all the things that you know you bring to them. I mean, that aside, it's not that like the role that she plays, that's not all that defines her. She goes through the struggle of realizing that. And it's a beautiful journey for her to experience. It was a beautiful journey for me to go through. She realizes at the end of the day, you know, she's actually got more support than she realizes, and it's not all on her. And I think I have realized that for myself throughout this process as well.
Wow, what a beautiful lesson to gain from your own character. I love that. I love this, guys. I love you guys so much. I wish I was in the room with you. Wilmer, your character, Agustin, you know, he's one of the few family members that doesn't have a gift, and he bonds with his daughter over this. How did you play the father figure and stand out in this extraordinary family?
I feel very fortunate. I had a great creative collaboration with my directors and really trying to find the nuances of like what it would be like to be in a family where everyone has this very special and iconic gift, you know, and what was your contribution? And I think humility to accept what you're not, and then celebrating what you really are. And that's something that I think he really naively and in a very innocent way just portrays so out loud. And I think he's hoping that this is what connects him with his daughter Isabel, right? Because that is the moment when he always wants to connect with her. Like, hey, it's okay to not be special, you know. Like, and what's really silly but beautiful and pure about that is that his full intentions is just to be a good dad, and that no matter how special everything tends to be, that his love for her is the only special gift that he would need. I think that when he looks at his whole family and looks at his role in it, I think it's that ever evolving conversation and who are we as parents today? And when I think about the ability to give, you know, new parents like myself, because this is the first time of me playing a dad while actually being a father, you know, it's a really beautiful image to say, hey, it's okay to be the dad that you're gonna be, not the dad that is, you know, archetyped for you, you know, in many ways. And he's kind of the definition of that. This is, I'm being a dad my way, and he's unapologetic about it, but he's also innocently pure about it too.
Oh, I love that you have that authenticity to bring to the character. And
I don't get
sorry.
Oh, thank you. What do I got to do to get snaps around here?
I'm talking about being ourselves.
Jesus Christ, man. I brought my daughter into this too.
Yeah, we have tears, bro.
And what's funny about your character, Wilmer, is that he's very accident prone in a way. So like you were saying, it's okay, you know, to be that. And I love that his wife can heal through her cooking and through her food. What superpowers would you possess in your own respective families? And what superpowers and gifts do some of your family members possess?
I think the power, of empathy. I think that like I really strive for that in my family, is to try to be as understanding as I can. You know, I've always tried to offer that, and I think that I strive for that even as an actor. To, you know, in this position, that this beautiful gift that we've been given to tell stories and to represent many walks of life. Yeah, I think that I represent that in my family.
I think the ability to understand multiple languages in my family is very much a role that I play. Everyone has got their own patterns and mannerisms. And I think being the youngest in my fam, I've been able to observe it all. And I have been able to dissect it and define it and realize where people are coming from. So I think I am a multilingual baddie in my fam. And I kind of tell everyone like, hey, this is what Kiki means by that. This is what Mama means by that. That's what Dia means by that. Come on, like
that is a superpower.
That is.
I think that's the superpower I know that I have played for a while, and yeah, even more so now.
You talk about the powers, and I start thinking about my mom, because my mom does have the power of making arepas that like bring you back to life, you know, or a sancocho when you're sick, you know, like a pot of soup, you know, that has everything from like pork, chicken, beef, you know, potatoes, everything you could think of in one pot, and pressure cooked for about 6 hours, and then you eat it for 4 days straight. So like my mom has the power of like, you know, food that heals. She talks to animals all the time, and in the form of yelling at them. I also think my mom literally has a super hearing because she can hear what you're saying in the other room just magically.
Okay, she got it all.
You know, my mom has all of them, you know, so I wonder what did I actually inherit it from this woman. And, you know, I will say that for me is to know that life will be as complicated as you decide that it will be. You know, and I think that's my strength, and understanding how to simplify what we often will rewrite as a difficult vision of what is ahead. So I'm the ever optimistic. I live in the half full. I love the uplifting of one another, and you know, I really care for that. So I hope that is this power that I can continue to, you know, speaking of my daughter, you know, give to her, that things are going to be as hard as she chooses them to be, and that if she deals with them from a bird's eye view, and you think about how big the world is, then no problem in front of you is going to be too big to solve.
Damn.
So true.
I mean,
You got the
come
snaps,
on. I just have to tell you guys, I'm Dominican, and I was talking to John. Sancocho has been a theme today, and we were talking about how our parents always complain it takes so long to make. My mom's like, I slaved over this for 3 days.
Yeah.
It's true.
But then they serve it. They serve it in not in a like a bowl. They serve it in like in a olla.
Yeah.
What is it?
And where do they get all that soup from? It's like a Mary Poppins bag.
It's like so much. I know. It's like,
Yeah. How about all this liquid? It didn't start with all this liquid. What's
and
going
what about
on
all
here?
the things that are coming out of there? I'm like, I didn't see you
Yeah.
put that in there.
Right?
I know.
and then my mom wants to put in more. She's like, you need more arroz. You need to put more rice in it, more hot sauce. I'm like, Mom, there's a million.
Oh no, do I?
Yeah, like where is the water? That's why the water bill is so high.
What about when they want to give you sancocho when it's like 100 degrees outside?
Oh,
They're
yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Yes,
And you're like, yeah, this is
I'm
so
like,
refreshing.
It's hot as hell outside. Like, why are you giving me this sancocho?
Can I
They're
put some
like,
ice in my
it's
sancocho?
Wednesday.
Like dripping sweat, I'm still eating, you know? I still leave the table.
It's like, Mom, I'm hungry. We got sancocho. It's like, Mom, I've eaten it 11 times this week.
That's
though.
right, that's
Like,
I had that at 9 a.m. this morning.
But it's better when you reheat it on the 5th day.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The 5th day is the
It's so
magical day.
greasy and delicious.
it is.
Even in our darkest moments, there's light where you least expect it.
One of the scenes that really stood out to me was when Abuela and some other people are fleeing from danger. And I feel like so many kids and parents in this country share a similar experience. So Charise, why use that as one of the first images we see in the film?
You know, it was a long development process to sort of get to where we got. But, you know, as we were thinking about being inspired by magical realism and sort of trying to figure out sort of the foundation of where this family's magic would have come from, we were always trying to think about how to like ground it in human emotion and human need and sort of make the magic spring from that. And as we talked to our Colombian consultants, our experts, they talked a lot about the history of displacement within the country. And then I also sort of, as a writer, brought in kind of my own family's history. My grandparents came here from Cuba with my mom, and just sort of thinking about that moment of desperation and need and the magic springing from that moment of Abuela Alma's love, and all those things came together, and that's where we got the beginning of our movie from.
I love that. I think that was very powerful. And as I'm Dominican and I am from South Florida, so very, very relatable, and what a beautiful message. You mentioned magical realism. Byron, I love magical realism because I love Disney and magical realism because it reminds us that there is magic inside of us always. Why this genre to tell this story?
Well, you know, it's perfect. I mean, one of the things that like we started this movie 5 years ago this week, which is crazy that these movies take so long. But
Congratulations!
It's an incredible. Thank you. We're so tired. It's amazing. So proud of everybody. You know, it's like when we started with Lin, because Lin and Jared had just come off of Moana together, so the three of us started talking. We knew we wanted to tell this story about an extended family. This idea of how well do your families know you? How well do you know your families? And Lin was very keen to have it set in Latin America. None of us knew where exactly it should be at that point, but it became very clear to us over that next year that Colombia was the place to go, not only because it's a crossroads of culture and food and family and diverse families, an amazing mix of music as well, but also because it's one of the main birthplaces of magical realism. And that style of storytelling so heavily influenced our take on this movie. Even us being blessed enough to find Charise, like Jared and I read tons and tons of scripts and plays and screenplays to find the perfect partner for this film. And we literally, there's no lie, he and I came in after going through piles of scripts with one script in hand, and it was Charise's play, Feathers and Teeth, which does this amazing job of blending magical realism with this amazing suburban take on, and there was something so perfect about her. And when she joined the team, it all became completely complete. But I think because, long story short, magical realism inspires this magic that's tied to emotion. It's not arbitrary. It's not a gift from a fairy godmother, which is great if you can find them. But this is about magic, like you said, that's a part of all about who we are emotionally and how much heart we bring to that magic of our families.
I love that. And I'm excited for people to learn that magical realism is something that is birthed and really innate to Colombia, which I think is it's just so perfectly interwoven. Jared, you've been living with these weirdos for a while. What I
Whether
totally
you mean the
love,
characters or them.
Oh, she means us, I think.
No, you guys are just absolutely a pleasure to be in the presence of. As someone who has a massive family, right? To see an extended family in a Disney animated feature film is huge, right? Typically, we get to connect with 1 to 3 different characters. So what was it like casting for this film? And how did you know that you wanted Stephanie Beatriz in the lead role?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, as you said, we've never tried to put an extended family on screen before because it turns out it's really hard to do. I think that one of the things that we were really excited about, literally from the beginning, I think like 5 years ago, we said, we want this to be about an extended family. We want to get to know them. We want them to feel like complex and multifaceted characters. And so we really spent a lot of time thinking through each character's journey along the way. Of course, then, like you're saying, we have to find the right cast because we want those characters to come to life in a way. I think for all of us that feels like they separate from one another, they have their own little quirks about them, and they have to feel like people from your own family. And so I think as we started meeting each member of our cast, I think, of course, the first person we cast was Stephanie, because we knew that we needed to have Mirabel be the real anchor of our entire story. She interacts with every single member of the family, and we have to watch. Her journey is our story. It's not a buddy comedy. Usually there's sort of like a two-hander. We knew that whoever played her would have to be able to do all things, be super emotional and quirky and sing like not just like one song, but many songs, a lot of different styles. I think the opening song is the fastest song in Disney history. There's so many words, and she had to be able to do that. But when Stephanie came in, she actually came in for a different part because we actually knew her from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and we were thinking, oh, maybe it would make sense for Luisa. We were early on. And then as soon as she started talking, we're like, oh, that's not Stephanie's personality at all. She's Mirabel, and her actual audition song was You're Welcome from Moana, and it was so hilarious and such a weird choice. And then when she started, we were like, oh, that's Mirabel. What are we doing here? And so she started doing the Mirabel lines, and we're like, done. We're super, super done. And I think what she's brought to this movie, she's ad-libbed so much of what you hear, not just the comedy parts, but the really emotional parts between her and Abuela Alma. I cannot imagine a better person. And then every member of the cast that's coming after that, really, that's what you see on screen is those people's personalities. We didn't ask someone to not be themselves. And we're really, really lucky to have such a huge, amazing, and very different cast.
Obviously, some of the characters in this film have some special gifts. So wanted to know, what superpowers, gifts do you guys possess in each of your families? And what are some of the gifts that your family members possess? We'll start with you, Charise.
Ooh. Well, I would say my mom makes like chicken soup that can actually ward off any kind of like evil spirits or bacteria. So I'm gonna say my mom is Julieta.
Is it Sancocho by any chance?
No, but it's like her Cuban chicken soup, and it is a true miracle. So I will say that's my mom. What's my magic power? You know, who knows? Maybe I got a little pepper in me, a little bit of fire, a little bit of ice. You know, it's all inside.
I love that, Jared. What about you?
Oh, Well, I'll tell you what my kids would say my superpower is, which is telling really bad jokes and having no shame. The no shame part of that, they will tell you, is my superpower because I won't stop. And now my kids also have no shame in their terrible jokes. So it's a generation of powers that have come from no shame.
Jared, do you have a dad joke that you just like keep top of mind?
You know what? I probably should. I'd say that there are many. I can't even get into it right now. It'd be terrible. You actually would see shame because you're taping this, and then my kids would lord it over me. So I will not do that. I will not be pushed into that. And then in my family, my mother definitely heals through food. But I'd say that one of the real inspirations of Luisa early on was my older sister, who is an amazing athlete. She's also an artist. And one of the first conversations we had with our family on this movie, I found it that like in college that she actually really wanted to stop doing gymnastics and being an athlete. She wanted to be an artist, and that was a really tough thing for her to figure out. And even within my family, because she was so good at it, but to know that there was this other passion she wanted to follow. So I'd definitely say Luisa for my sister.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for that. What about you, Byron?
Nice. Well, I'm trying to think of my family. I have so many people. Well, I'll tell you, my sister has this talent for no matter what she tries, no matter what weird thing she tries, she adopts something and she becomes excellent at it. Like I'll call her up and she's actually building onto part of her house, or she's learning oil painting, or like last week she was making wine. She and her husband were making grapes and like squishing grapes. I'm like, what are you doing? But she puts her mind to it. She accomplishes it. She's amazing. And I think for me, I think being in denial, I think that is something in the movie that I kind of relate to. I have a cheerful demeanor. I think sometimes I need to look closer at these things that are affecting my life. But I think in general, I'm the optimist of the family and stuff. But I think there's something about these roles that we see in the family. I really do see a lot of all of our families that we've talked about, because we've talked about them a lot over the last 5 years. We're sorry, families, but we've had a lot of kind of family therapy sessions where it's been a huge discovery. But yeah, I think that I love hearing even Jared and Charise's picks. That's great.
Welcome to Family Madrigal, the home of the Family Madrigal. We're on our way, where all the people are fantastical but magical. I'm part of Family Madrigal.
Oh my gosh, it's them! What are they saying? I can't remember. Oh, I don't know who is who.
All right, relax.
It is physically impossible to relax. That's everything. What are your powers? Just tell us what everyone can do.
And that's why coffee's for grown-ups.
Might be a bed on her mood affects the weather. When she's unhappy, well, the temperature gets weird. Might be a no.
We don't talk about